All right, so good evening, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a quick legislative update from Free the States. It's very impromptu. The reason we're doing it is because there's a lot of shenanigans going on at the Oklahoma State House and the Oklahoma Senate. And I want to make this as brief as possible, but also explain it so that you know. But once again, Greg Treat has amended Senate Bill 195 in order to try to save face and give the appearance of being pro-life or anti-abortion. But what he's doing is being anti-abolition. You see, the abolition bill, Senate Bill 13, was filed back before session, read by Greg Treat, and assigned to the Health and Human Services Committee. Now, once it became very apparent, very clear that the people of Oklahoma really got behind this bill and said, yes, we support the Abolition of Abortion in Oklahoma Act, Senate Bill 13, because we support the idea of criminalizing abortion as murder and doing it in the face of federal Supreme Court rulings, because we want to uphold the principles of the Declaration of Independence, protect life, and we want to love our preborn neighbors as ourselves and do for them what we would want done for us, namely, protect them from murder. So Senate Bill 13 was overwhelmingly supported by the people. Hundreds and hundreds went to the Capitol on multiple occasions saying, we want this bill. And they didn't want any other bill. So once it became clear to Senate leadership that this bill was popular, they became very scared because the bill was asking them to stand up, do their jobs, and protect unborn children from the oppression that is abortion, and to do so in the face of standard pro-life establishment wisdom and the status quo, to do so in the face of the federal government, to stand up and say, here in Oklahoma, we're going to be a sanctuary state for the unborn, and we're going to do it come what may. Now, this freaked the Senate out. This was the demand of the people. This is what the people wanted. And so very quickly, they began to sort of have backroom meetings with the Senate committee, like have a Health and Human Services Committee meeting, invite all the Republicans except for Senator Silk and the other author of SB 13, leave the Democrats out and have a little meeting and say, can we get enough votes to kill Senate Bill 13? And when it became clear that they couldn't, Greg Treat said, well, I will swoop in, I will come in, and I will offer an amendment to Senate Bill 195 and put forward a abortion abolition trigger bill to hopefully appease the people and give this appearance of like we're still pro-life and we're still doing everything. But the problem is we all knew better and we all saw through the shenanigan, because he's basically saying if some other state passes a bill like Senate Bill 13 and it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, yes, states do have the right to abolish abortion, then Oklahoma will abolish abortion. So, for example, if Texas abolished abortion and that set a precedence for the rest of the nation, then other states in the union like Oklahoma would follow suit. And Greg Treat's like, I don't want to be the person to lead the nation to abolish abortion and make Oklahoma an abortion-free state. But if someone else does it first, I'll do it. So we all saw through it. And so after he proposed this amendment and sort of contradicted himself and was like, I'm for the 10th Amendment, but I'm against nullification. And stood up there and said, I will nullify to protect marijuana use, but I won't to protect babies. And then Silk's like, that's bad. And he's like, well, nullification's bad. And besides, like the Supreme Court has never ruled against marijuana. And Joseph Silk was like, yeah, they have, and then cited the case, and then Treat was like, oh, let's change the subject. Well, after he proposed Senate Bill 195, all the other like sycophants in the Senate just voted for it, and it passed. He like scurried out of the room. And I was there, hundreds of people were there. He like put his folder together. It was like he didn't have a tail, but it was like his tail went between his legs, and he scurried out of the room. And Jason Smalley was like, let's move on to other business. And all the abolitionists were like, shh. And it didn't work. It became very clear to all the senators that it just didn't work. The people of Oklahoma don't want pro-life appearances. They don't want these pro-life declarations. They want total abolition. They want abortion to be abolished. They don't want it going on in our state, and they don't care what the Supreme Court says. They say, no, we're going to uphold the Declaration of Independence. We're going to uphold the actual Constitution. We're going to be consistent with the higher law of God. We don't really care if the Supreme Court has said that the right to murder is something that every mother needs to have in order to be free and equal. We don't care. In Oklahoma, we're going to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Well, so a little bit of a digression there, but what Treat had done is he had amended Senate Bill 195. Originally, Senate Bill 195 was just a single-page personhood declaration filed by Senator Dave Rader. And all it was saying that babies are persons and they're precious and they're great and life begins at conception, and we should say that in our laws. Now, it already says that in our laws. This is the sort of thing that someone passes in order to look pro-life or whatever, but it does nothing because it does not explicitly prohibit abortion and say you're not allowed to have an abortion. This does and says and changes nothing. And so there was no interest in this bill because the personhood strategy, the personhood ideology and movement is effectively dead and has been replaced by the abolitionist ideology in Oklahoma. So Rader was like, yeah, you can gut my bill and you can amend it. And Treat was like, okay, fine. So Treat amends that rubbish bill with his trigger abortion abolition bill, and nobody buys it. Now, after that, Treat had the ability to bring it up on the Senate floor, but wasn't. Because, why bring up a bill that nobody cares for? But Treat is likely always thinking, well, I want to run for Congress someday, and I don't want to look like the guy who kept abortion legal, and I didn't fool them with the first time I amended SB 195. Maybe I can amend it again, and they will think that I'm great, or whatever. And that's what he's done. So that's the point of this legislative update. Senate Bill 195 has yet again been amended by Senator Greg Treat and will be going to the floor for a vote tomorrow, first thing, on the floor of the Oklahoma Senate. Now, this is a floor substitute. So SB 195 passed through, the trigger bill passed through, and now he's thrown it out, and now he's substituted the following language. And guess what? It's not even a legislative act anymore. Now it is a referendum. Senate Bill 13, the Abolition of Abortion Oklahoma Act, said we, the legislators, the representatives, the senators here in Oklahoma are going to abolish abortion as murder because we believe that the state ought to prohibit the practice of killing preborn children in the womb. That's what legislators should do. If the state government is going to do anything, it should be prohibit murder, protect the innocent, and punish evil doers, those who would murder them. What Senate Bill 195 now does is it passes the buck to the people. Like Senator Greg Treat saying, the first time he amended it, he was like, I'm going to abolish abortion in the event that some other state abolishes abortion. Now he's saying he's not even going to do that. What he's going to do is he's going to say, he's going to wash his hands of it and say listen, the Oklahoma Senate is not going to protect preborn human beings. We're not going to protect life. We're not going to establish equal justice for preborn children. None of that. We're going to put it up to the people for a vote. But it's even more shifty than that, because the language that he wants to put up for a vote is not even actually abolitionist language. He's not saying, well, let's let the people decide whether or not abortion will be murder or not, criminalized or not, abolished or not. No, what he wants to do is direct the Secretary of the State to refer to the people for their approval or rejection a proposed amendment to the Oklahoma Constitution, providing no provision to secure or protect the right to perform or receive an abortion, prohibiting certain construction of Constitution, defining terms, and providing a ballot title, etc., etc. Now, that's all legalese, jargony language. But what this essentially does, and I will post a link below this video, is it says we're going to put on the ballot an opportunity for the people to vote against abortion. Now, Here's the measure, though, and here's the tricksy, clever thing. This measure exempts from this definition terminating a pregnancy for certain reasons, such as to preserve the life or the health of an unborn child. So I think that may be a typo. It's probably supposed to say such as to preserve the life or the health of a mother. But like, this is like, these guys are so triggered and they're running around at the Capitol. Like, they're like investigating lobbyists, and they're like trying to destroy, like, free the states, and making up rumors about how we're starting riots and all this kind of stuff. And they're falling all over themselves. They can't even like write their language without typos. But I think that they're saying such as to preserve the life or the health of a mother. They don't define health, so that could be like mental health, emotional health. But it's also to remove an ectopic pregnancy. What they mean by ectopic pregnancy is like, a child who is implanted inside the fallopian tube or on the outside of the fallopian tube and is going to die as a result of where they've implanted. So it's not including that. And it's also not including an unborn child who has died as the result of a miscarriage or accidental trauma or a criminal assault. Now, understand that children who die from ectopic pregnancies, children who die from spontaneous miscarriages or accidental trauma or criminal assault, none of those cases were being criminalized by SB 13. Like, a child dying from an ectopic pregnancy is not the same as someone waking up and saying, I'm going to schedule an abortion today to murder this baby because I do not want them. It's different. A mother losing a child because of an ectopic pregnancy is a loss. It's not an elective abortion. And we had the language in SB 13 which made that clear, and also didn't bring in these other exceptions that made it a little less clear. But here's the kicker. So it allows abortion in those cases, which those aren't really abortion cases. They're just doing that to kind of cover themselves. Here's the kicker. It says this measure concerns only the rights guaranteed by the Oklahoma Constitution. It would not alter any rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution. That's code for we will not take away the right to abortion if the U.S. Constitution is considered to be pro-abortion. By which they don't mean the Constitution as it's written. They mean the Constitution as it has been interpreted / perverted by the Supreme Court. So this actual measure, let's give it to the people and let them vote, doesn't even have any teeth. Because they're saying, whatever we do in Oklahoma, it's not going to be against the Constitution, which they mean against the Supreme Court. There's no nullification here either. There's no standing up to Roe v. Wade. There's no standing up to the federal beast. There's nothing here. What this is Greg Treat trying to once again save face and prove that he's anti-abortion and that he deserves future votes from pro-lifers by putting something forward that does nothing. So, tomorrow, Senate Bill 195 is going to be brought up. It's probably going to be brought up, voted on, passed, right? You can't make amendments to this stuff at this point in the game. It's going to be brought up, passed, voted on, end up on a ballot maybe. I don't really know. I don't really know what's going to happen on the House. I think John Echols wants to sponsor it in the House. They'll do it on the House, end up on a ballot, and it's all pointless. One, the legislators, the lawmakers are the ones who should be making laws against abortion. We elected them to do that, not to be like cowards and ask us to vote on it. Now, even if the people all got together and voted, yes, we don't want abortion in Oklahoma, this language won't do it. It won't do it because it does not challenge Roe, which is exactly what needs to happen. It doesn't defy Roe. It's exactly what needs to happen. And it doesn't define abortion as murder and take away the positive right to get on an abortion. So it's all very bad. So what I want you to do, and sorry this has gone long and it's late, I really would like everyone to email the entire Senate, the entire House of Representatives, and just say something in the subject line. In the subject line, say, do your job. Legislate against abortion. Don't send it to the people. Like Senate Bill 195 is a coward's version, is still a coward's version of Senate Bill 13. We don't need a referendum. We need these senators to actually pass a bill abolishing abortion. We need Governor Kevin Stitt to sign that bill, enact it, and we, the people of Oklahoma, and our legislature and our executives need to say, here in Oklahoma, preborn children will be protected from the murderous act of abortion. That's what we need. This is all delaying justice. This is all a sham to continue to get pro-life votes and get pro-life pats on the backs and pro-life roses every year while not abolishing abortion. So thank you for listening. Please email the Senate. We'll put all the emails. We'll try to make sure that they're separated by commas and all that kind of stuff. Please do this. We want them to wake up in the morning and know that they're not getting away with their shenanigans. So, and that's what it is. Straight up shenanigans. Cowardly shenanigans. So this is Free the States. That's a legislative update. Thank you for watching. Pass this information along. Love you. Good night.